A very good day to you all, our viewers. Thank you very much for joining me on this, our 50th episode for Sahwira SME Hub. This is a platform that provides you with novel, customized business advisory services to owner managers for micro, small, and medium enterprises. And today with me in the studio is a special guest. He is a transformational leader, an entrepreneur, and he hails from South Africa, but he's Zimbabwean, but he's in South Africa. And I'm just going to introduce him to you straight away. Patty, welcome.
Charles, it is such a pleasure to be on the show, and especially, just to see the work that you are doing, just amazing. I am just overjoyed to be able to connect again in this way.
Thank you very much. And I'm also really thrilled that you are now a transformational leader and entrepreneur and CEO for Crossover Transformation. For the benefit of our viewers, just briefly unpack what is Crossover Transformation? What do you do?
Charles, Crossover Transformation is really focused on looking at economic-based solutions, especially from an African perspective, and then looking at how we can work and incubate and build businesses that can actually address the economic challenge that Africa faces, but from an African perspective, so that we can really begin to harness what I believe is the incredible potential that we have as a continent and as a people. So literally, Crossover came to being as a result of, just a desire to want to look and see how we can co-create an Africa that is different to the Africa that we've had before, and to literally unlock that potential, but also unlock the people who have that potential to actually do it. Wow. So as Crossover, we are involved a lot in consulting to businesses. We do business turnaround projects. We run a couple of entrepreneurship incubators, etc. So our desire is really just to see Africa arise and assume its correct position in the economic cycle.
Wow! Oh, this is brilliant. You leave me mouthwash. Right. I've managed to capture two key issues that continue to come out from your narrative. One, African entrepreneurship, African continent. Why African entrepreneur? It's like you have really positioned yourself to say African entrepreneurship, African perspective, African continent. What is the underlying motive?
Yeah, you see, Charles, part of the underlying why we keep emphasizing Africa, 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 is that we have a strong belief that from a economic perspective, whether it's looking at, capitalism, all these different systems that we have encountered, over the years, they have typically looked at Africa through the eyes of those who really want to benefit out of Africa, and at the detriment of Africa itself. Okay. So if you really look at the current system that has been at play, we have largely been seen as a continent where others can come and extract the resources that we have. They can come and extract the value, repackage that value, and almost sell that value back to us multiple times over. So when you almost look at it, Africa has been viewed as a destination for the extraction of resources, but also if you look at the narrative around why the rest of the world is so excited about Africa, is they then see us as being a 1.3 billion market. So they see us as being a consumer who now consumes our own resource that we
Wow.
haven't produced.
Yeah.
And therefore, we continue having so much resource that we could actually be producing,
Mm.
beneficiating ourselves so
Mm.
that we create the value on the continent
Mm.
and we begin to trade
Mm.
with other continents and other nations from a position of strength because we have the raw material,
Uh-huh.
we have the production.
Uh-huh.
Why should we just be relegated to being a consumer in the global economic system? So
Wow.
that's why I keep emphasizing Africa, because we need to actually build a very different system
Mm.
where we position ourselves differently to how other people would want to position us.
Well, viewers, this is really exciting. Your host, my name, I'm Dr. Charlie, and I'm coming to you live in Manchester as we are social distancing, and Patty is in South Africa. By the way, which part of South Africa are you in?
I am actually in Johannesburg.
He is in Johannesburg, and this is
Yes.
really exciting, guys. I'm sure you're excited just as much as I am. Africa, you need to take your central role. You need to take your leadership role. What is coming out, the takeaways there from Patty is the need for value addition, the need to self-assertiveness or self-determination as an entrepreneur, and the need to have confidence in yourself that indeed you can rise up to the global level as an entrepreneur. In other words, if you are to reconnect with crossover, you are coming to the right platform, to the cradle where you can get those skills, you get incubated, and you take your rightful position as an entrepreneur, as an African entrepreneur. Now, you've mentioned the issue of incubation, which means before you can incubate, it means there should be somebody who should have desired or taken a step to become an entrepreneur. And my question to you, Patty, is how does somebody get into business, or take us through what really goes through? What should they do prior to getting into business, and maybe the gestation period? Exactly what should they do?
You know, Charlie, it really starts off. I mean, there are a number of things that we try to emphasize with entrepreneurs. The first thing is for an entrepreneur to really self-assess what they are passionate about. What are
Right,
they passionate about? What skills, what talents do they have?
right,
Because we really believe that the a key to entrepreneurship is getting into something that you are passionate about, so that when you wake up every morning,
right.
you wake up knowing that I'm doing something that I'm passionate about, and that it's not something that I'm having to be dragged out of bed
Wow,
every morning to do. So it's
wow,
about the passion within the person. We need to harness that passion. We need to harness the gifts within that person.
right,
Then the second thing that we typically then want to look at is, how do we harness that passion, the gifts, the talents into solving a problem?
right.
Because at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur, what you're really looking to do is put together a product or a service that's going to solve a problem.
Mm,
And therefore, we need to determine what that problem is.
right.
And we have to view that problem through the right mindset. And this is where the African issue that we talked about earlier comes in,
Right. I'm just
because
going to
am I
cut you there.
viewing?
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. I'm just going to cut you there just to summarize for
Okay.
the benefit of our viewers. So, viewers, two things are coming out from what Patty is saying. Number one, if you are to get into business or to become an entrepreneur, you need a passion. Patty is emphasizing that it must be something that you enjoy doing, so that nobody has to force you. You are not being dragged into doing that. And secondly, if I'm getting Patty correctly, he is saying determine the customer need or the customer problem which you want to solve. You can't just say, I have a passion, but that passion is not addressing any particular target market problem out there. So, number one, passion, and number two, the problem. And Pat was about to explain the perspective. You can take it away.
Thank you, Charlie. So, on point number two, part of the perspective that we have to think about, I believe, is we have to think about a bigger perspective. And what I
Uh-huh.
mean by a bigger perspective is, again, we have typically grown up in an environment where we've limited our entrepreneurship venture to
Right.
typically be, you know what, let me go and buy something, let me go and sell something.
Right.
Yes, there's a place for that,
Right.
but there's also a place for beginning to think a lot bigger. You know,
Mm-hmm.
what is the bigger ecosystem of how things work, and how can I get higher up in that ecosystem
Right.
so that I can create much more value rather
Mm-hmm.
than buy and sell. You know, how can my passion and the problem that I'm trying to solve, even if I start at a smaller level, but
Right.
how can I come up with a big vision
Mm-hmm.
around being able to climb up that value chain so that the idea is to occupy a position that's as high as possible in
Right.
the value chain.
Right. So here's another third thing, viewers. I can summarize it by saying connect the dots within your marketing environment. By connecting the dots, it's like fit in your passion, determine the problem that you want to solve for the customer, then have an understanding of the whole marketing environment, the perspective, which part is saying. And when you do that, connect the dots so that you have some milestones to say, right, this is how I'm going to weave my way through until I self-actualize there. So take it away again. Continue, tell
You
us what else should they do?
you have summarized it so well.
Ah, thank you.
So I think I think the next position is then to then look at the profitability,
Uh-huh.
viability aspect of it. Because
Right.
obviously, if I have a passion, if I want to solve a problem, and
Mm-hmm.
I fully understand how I can connect the dots throughout that entire value chain, the
Yes.
next thing is I'm in business, I'm an entrepreneur. I need to
Right.
be able to do it in a way that is viable, that's going
Right.
to be profitable, so that I can begin to expand on this thing. So,
Yes.
a key element of this is beginning to also understand how do I do this in a way that is profitable
Right.
so that this thing can be multiplied and this thing can really grow and scale to
Mm.
a level where it has even more impact. So the fourth thing is that the business model, the viability of it, the financial side of things, to make sure that that is in place.
So viewers, as Patty is saying, don't just invest your money without coming up with a business model. A business model is like a plan, and it should actually educate you with regards to what is required to venture into business and the benchmarks of the profitability and the sustainability. Is it going to be viable? In other words, you should not be in business just for 1 week or for 1 month or for 1 year, and then you are out of business. This is what Patty is saying. Now, I want us to cross over to the, using your the name of your company, I want us to cross over to the next theme that I have here. We've looked at what entrepreneurs should consider to do when they want to get into business. Now, I want to look at some of the lessons that you yourself has learned if you look back into business. The last time I recall, you were a senior manager, a senior executive in the IT business, and now we reconnect, you have this company. For how long have you been operating this crossover?
Charles, crossover has been on the go now since 2011. So we are literally this year, September. It will be 9 years in September this year. So we've been on the go now for 9 years.
So here you are on the go for 9 years. I'm sure over this period, there are so many lessons learned. Try to pick some of them. What is it that you have learned that you are willing to share with our viewers to say, having been in business for the past 9 years, this is what I have learned?
A few things. I think the key ones for me are centered around when we speak to many businesses or even entrepreneurs. One of the biggest traps that people fall into is thinking that money,
Mm-hmm.
especially at the start,
Yeah.
is what determines whether you're going to be successful or not.
Uh-huh.
And therefore you will typically find people will say, but you know what, I don't have access to capital, I don't have access to money, and therefore I can't go into business. And therefore
Right.
they're almost, before actually going through the process of determining what's
Uh-huh.
my passion, what
Uh-huh.
is it that I really want to do, what's
Right.
the problem I want to solve, how can I figure out what that looks like, let me start to think through what the plan might be.
Right.
Typically people put the capital at the front, and because
Uh-huh.
they think that they don't have access to capital, they immediately don't move forward, and therefore ideas get killed.
Right.
So we always say to people, put together your idea, put
Right.
together what you want to do,
Uh-huh.
and typically your passion and your vision behind it is what will typically open up the doors for you to understand how you need to get the capital and whatever. And
Uh-huh.
we also say to people, guys, understand that one of the most valuable elements of capital
Uh-huh.
is actually relational capital.
Right.
Because relational capital is such that when you are able to articulate your vision and your ideas to
Uh-huh.
people
Uh-huh.
and people you're connected with, that typically opens the door to other forms of capital, like financial capital.
Right, let me stop you there. Oh, I'm really enjoying this. So there you are, viewers. What Patty is drawing us to is that he has learned that from a number of entrepreneurs, they get trapped by the issue of capital. In other words, you focus so much and say, well, I have an idea, but then I can't do anything because I don't have capital. So he is saying, do not allow the issue of capital, which is, by the way, that amount of money or fund that is required to start the business. Don't let that be a stumbling block. Instead, remain open-minded, put your business plan together. And he went on to build upon that to say the greatest capital that you can ever have is relational capital, which in research we also call social capital. This is all about the networks. Who do you know? Because you find when we are born, over life, you make friends, you get contacts, and usually quite a number of people get into business after having worked for quite some time. Like you find Patty here who was in the IT industry.
Mm.
So when you have been working for quite a long time, you create strategic networks. So when you want to venture into business, greater chances are you are going to draw upon those relations to say, who do I know? And you find that in most cases, you may not necessarily need to actually pump out money to get into business. People will rally around your idea. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Charles, you have explained it so well. I even like the way you talked about how, in the past, whether it's in business, whether it's even in school,
Yes.
if you really analyze, if we really analyze our relational capital,
Uh-huh.
we can almost get access to anything if we
Yes.
really harness our relational capital. So you
Exactly.
you have summarized it so well.
Yes.
So I think the next thing that I want to also just mention is we also really encourage entrepreneurs to also share their ideas and get input from as many sources as possible around their idea,
Right.
because that is part of the development of the idea and the problem that they want to solve, and
Right.
also the viability of the idea. Because often when you are passionate about something,
Mm-hmm.
you can almost look at your passion through a very one-dimensional view,
Right.
and your passion can actually make you very one-dimensional in terms of how you are looking at the problem you're trying to solve.
Right.
Whereas if you open yourself up to actually share your idea but get the input of many people, you
Right.
are now starting to see the problem and the solution you are bringing
Mm.
from the perspective of many, which will actually help you build an even stronger case and
Mm.
business plan for what you are trying to do.
Mm. Thank you very much, Patty. There you are, viewers. The second lesson that Patty is sharing with us is being open to advice. Being open to advice. One of the challenges as entrepreneurs is you say, I founded this business. It is my baby. So it is my call. to make decisions. So we end up having this control. And sometimes because of this control, we then tend not to want to be open to advice. But Pat is saying here, if you are to be successful, you need to be open to advice so that you get that independent views. You'll always have other people who can watch your back, so to say, in respect of your business idea. And this is really incredible. So perhaps in just looking at our time, we've got about 5 minutes more, maybe a third one before we wrap it up. What else, another lesson that you think you want to share with our viewers?
I think a third one that we have found to be very critical, which is somehow tied to the second one, is take off your shoes
Right.
from being the entrepreneur
Uh-huh.
and go and wear the shoes of the person who you are trying to solve the problem for. So go and put on the customer's shoes
Right.
and view everything that you are trying to do
Uh-huh.
wearing the shoes of the person who you believe your product or your service is supposed to go to.
Wow.
And if you are able to do that,
Mm-hmm.
you are then able to see backwards in terms of what is the person that I want to take this product, what are they seeing? Is this really a problem for them? Is this really a solution for them?
Right.
And are they prepared to pay for it?
Right. So here's another third important lesson as an entrepreneur. If you are to succeed in business, don't just be satisfied with your perception of how you are solving the problem. You can come up with a new product or a new service and you can say, wow, this is a brilliant product. Wow, this is an excellent service. But what Patty is saying is, hold on, switch the sides. Perceive that product of yours, perceive that service of yours from the customer's point of view. Are you still able to say, wow, this is an excellent product? Wow, this is an excellent service. If you find that your perception changes, then you need to up your gear so that the way you are solving this problem is interpreted as a solution from the customer's point of view. Perhaps again, the very last one, this one should be the last one. It's really exciting. That's why I'm continuing to say the very last one. What else would you want to give away to our customers?
Sorry, Charles, I missed you there. Just repeat that last question.
The very last one. What other lesson have you learned that you want to share? This one should be the very last one.
The very last one is we are so much more capable than we believe.
Right.
And I think that one, I'm coming at it again from the very first discussion around Africa.
Right.
We have, I think, grown up with, unfortunately, a mindset that has been centered around others are the ones who can do this, and therefore we have to follow others.
Right.
We are so much more capable as a people than we have given ourselves credit for. And therefore, we have the capability to step up. And therefore, I say to entrepreneurs, we have the capability to step up and to really incubate and create businesses that can be world class, that can show the world the true potential that exists in the African entrepreneur. We just have to think much bigger than we have thought before. So my last point is we are more than capable.
Thank you very much, Patty. So there you are. Let us not be our worst own enemies. Patty saying confidence throughout. We are capable to actually compete with other entrepreneurs at any scale, at any platform throughout the world. So we are just wrapping up this show. I hope you enjoyed this show in as much as I have done. Before I say bye-bye, let me say to Patty, any last words to our viewers?
We are in such exciting times right now, even despite the crisis that's taking place through this COVID-19, etc. It's exciting times in terms of this is the time where literally the market and industry is so shaken up
Mhm.
And in the shaking up that is taking place,
Mhm.
this is the time for entrepreneurs to emerge with new solutions, new ideas, new business models, innovation that can actually drive the next wave of the economy, the next wave of business. So I even believe that as much as it's a sad time because of the pain that people are going through with the virus, it's time to also be thinking, what does the new look like? Because we have come out of an era of the
Thank
old.
you very much,
This
Patty.
is
I'm
the
just
time to
gonna
innovate again.
thank you. I'm going to stop you there because of our time. So there you are, in as much as we are in difficult times because of COVID-19, but Patty saying, hey, viewers, this is the time to be innovative, to be creative. I really enjoyed this show. Thank you very much, Patty, for coming on board. And I know this is not the last time. Actually, for the benefit of you viewers, there is an international video conference in the pipeline, and I can guarantee you, you have not heard from Patty the last time. He's going to be one of the keynote speakers. I've really enjoyed this show myself. Thank you very much. From me, your host, Dr. Charlie. Sahwira SME Hub is very important. If you like to continue to hear from us, feel free to get in touch with us on our Facebook page, Sahwira SME Hub. Thank you very much. Bye bye. Have a very good day.